Welcome to the Zentangle Project Pack series. This lesson is part of Project Pack 04. My name is Rick.
And I'm Maria. Project Pack 4 is designed around a specific project we're calling the Zentangle Spinner.
Today is the 7th day in the series, but if you're watching these after they're posted, you can easily do the lessons out of order.
Today we're going to guide you through filling one wedge of your spinner with some tangles. And here we go.
So on this one, I have begun doing a tangle called printemps, which is French for the season of spring. And you'll notice that I am doing it in a
Counterclockwise?
and I'm also doing it in a Hollibaugh fashion, meaning that I'm drawing it behind the first one I drew. And I'm also doing this technique I learned from Maria, which is, you see, I'm leaving that little gap at around 11 o'clock. So that is what we call a sparkle or a highlight, and we will use that. It just adds a little bit of interest, sort of like on a old-fashioned woodcut.
I like that because it adds to your meditation and the intensity of your focus. So you can see he comes around 11 o'clock, doop, blip. Almost like, what are those blips on radars?
Oh,
or
like a
something
radar, yeah.
Yeah. But when you see the blips all together, your eye looks at that as a highlight.
And you'll notice also that printemps is essentially aura-ing, and the way we do it is with Hollibaugh. And I'm just filling in the backgrounds and just adding a little bit of that lovely contrast with that solid color.
Drama. I love the drama.
Really makes a difference.
Cool.
Right?
That's a cool little printemps.
So that's our first section with printemps, and just fill in that corner. And the next tangle that we're going to do is a tangle we call rain.
You know why?
Tell me.
Well, we were in the Louvre a long time ago. We went into the Iranian pottery exhibit.
Right.
And rain is Iran with the letters mixed up, so it comes out to rain. But this particular pattern was all over the exhibit. It seemed to be one of the most popular ones, and it went back, way, way back, right?
Yeah, so this was about, I think it was, I'm guessing now, but I think it was about 4000 BC.
Yeah.
And we had actually gone there, and that's the only exhibit we saw in the entire Louvre.
It was so fascinating. We never got a chance.
Yeah.
They closed the building before we had a chance to go in another room.
And they let us take pictures. You can take pictures there. So we were just photographing because it was such a wealth of patterns and these really basic patterns.
So this pattern that starts with a line and then a zigzag through the line, and then you fill in those zigzags, and it makes this really beautiful, almost like the tail of a kite or something. It's really just so beautiful. And Rick here is going to aura this whole thing.
And adding an aura or multiple auras is a great technique, and we'll use that very often. And it's wonderful when you're having the tangle that you're auraing next to another tangle or over another tangle. And I think we play with that when we do the shading of it. And of course, this one snuck out of its zone. So I'm jumping right into the next tangle, which is one that we call fracas or fracas.
Fracas. And I don't know why.
And this one, we have multiple lines, actually 4 lines, that all cross at the same place. And they can be straight, or as you see, they could be curved.
So he's auraing these triangular shapes. It's a little confusing there because there is a line that goes down through the middle, but it's not part of the tangle.
Yeah, so that is a string line. It's pre-printed on this spinner. And one of the characteristics of a string is that we always draw them in pencil. And the reason we draw them in pencil is so that you can have them there to take advantage of, or you can ignore them.
Disregard, yeah.
And so you can...
So we printed them in pencil.
Yeah, so they're printed as if they're drawn in pencil. Here we're doing that Hollibaugh technique with the fracas that, or the rain that rained through into the other section.
Yeah.
So once that we get all of these little quadrants filled or aura'd, I'm going to put in these arcs. And the arcs will just go all the way up through the section.
Reminds me of an umbrella when you open up an umbrella, right?
Very much. And then once those are in, I'm going to color in every other one. So you can already see the benefit now of having aura'd rain, because there's that nice clear separation between it and the tangle underneath it.
We should use this more often. I forget to use this.
And it's a really great drama tangle because you've got that nice black and white going on, that striping and a little bit of curved. So I'm going to go through each of these little pie shapes, sort of fractal here. We're doing a pie shape within a larger pie shape, and fill them in, alternating. Really enjoying that time of filling them in.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty in your face. You can't not focus on this one, huh? It's really cool. You did a nice job on this one too.
And you can really adapt this to, you can see how some of them are really skinny and some are really wide, and it's very flexible to fill in regardless of the size of the element.
I think it's very appropriate because it looks sort of like one of those paint spinners, when you
Yes.
just pour paint on and it spins around. Nice.
Okay, so we've got those big sections. Let's do something in that border.
Oh, that border.
And this is a tangle called avreal, and that's the way I'm pronouncing it now. And again, it has the basic structure of aura-ing, and you'll notice I turned my spinner around there so I can clearly see the line that I'm aura-ing up against, because I'm putting that really, really close on this one. And then the center of avreal starts out with this zigzag, sort of like, pretty close to 90 degrees angles. Just going down the length of that. And then the next step is to do one that overlaps it in a mirror image. So you get this neat row of diamonds.
Nice.
So that's basically setting it up for a fill. And we're just going to do some alternating or lines, but I'm just going to put it on half of one of the diamonds. Then turn the spinner, and we'll fill in some other sections. And having those lines that are close together going in opposite directions, it creates a neat effect. And I'll do the other side. So this is one way that you could fill this. It just sets up an idea, and in some ways this is a very small reticula that we established there. So now it's time to add some graphite. So I'm going to begin by putting the graphite opposite that highlight. And then I'll put it around the edge where those little spiral discs.
Makes them pop out.
Yeah, it just lifts it right out above the one that's underneath it. So any tangle that you're working with that has a Hollibaugh event in it is an open invitation for a shading to emphasize that.
And with your handy-dandy tortillon, smoothing those out, it just feels good to use the tortillon. I love it.
Yeah, and it just, the analogy we're working on now, or I'm working on now, is that it's sort of like putting frosting on the cake, and you put the big chunk of frosting on with the graphite pen, and then, the graphite pencil, and then spread it around with the tortillon.
Oh, this is not an unexpected thing to do. I wasn't expecting that.
So here I'm going right up against the aura line and using the tip of my pencil right up against it, and using that aura as a way to lift it off the background. So you can imagine that how much more effective it is with that gap between the rain and the background. And then how beautifully the tortillon can just pull that away and smooth it. Sometimes really stark things can be very, very strong.
Nice.
Right?
Mm-hmm. You really don't need to do much there, huh?
Yeah, and you'll see what I'm doing there. I'm grabbing some graphite because I can use it. I'm sort of loading up the tortillon just to add a little bit of shading on the Ivory Owl. So on fracas, I'm going to go on each edge, and you'll see how I'm only putting the graphite on the paper, because you don't need to add graphite where the ink is. And then I'm smoothing it in, being careful even on those narrow ones to leave a little bit of ungraphited ones in the middle, so that you've got the contrast. Yeah.
You don't have shadow unless you have highlights.
And then
that's cool.
grabbing the
white chalk.
The white chalk. So if you have one, we didn't include one in this pack, but good chance you may have one, and I just couldn't resist on this because it's such a dramatic little touch. So there we have day 7, and look forward to sharing our adventure, continuing it in day 8.
Okay.
And look forward to seeing what you're doing. So thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye now.